All right, everybody, it's the Ghostly Archives. Welcome to the show. We'll let a few of you stream in while I do an introduction. We're streaming to you live right now on X, Facebook, and YouTube, plus on my guest's YouTube. And my guest tonight is Dave Cruz from Beyond the Strange podcast, a very fascinating podcast. You want to check it out, beyondthestrange.com. That is his website. And you can support the show, of course, by sharing on X. It's extremely important. Share, pop the like. If you're on YouTube, remember to give the thumbs up, subscribe on all the platforms. That really helps the show grow. Also, I know finances are tight for everybody thanks to a certain administration. I won't get into details, but you can, if you can support me financially, you can always go to www.buymeacoffee.com/GenXNews. I'll pop a little bit of a, see here, I'll pop a little code, a QR code. No, it's being we'll pop this up there. I had a code in there, but apparently it doesn't, it went somewhere else. But anyways, it's right up there. There's a little QR code for you guys. So buymeacoffee.com/GenXNews. I appreciate everybody joining us tonight and sharing the content and contributing your comments. If you have comments on this topic, if you know biblical stuff, you probably know more than I do. Please remember to ask Dave a question. So it's transhumanism tonight. And I've got a quote here I'm going to share with you guys before I bring Dave in, because the transhumanism that's happening today that we see around us is tied into a lot of biblical stuff. And this is a quote from Isaac Asimov that I think really describes our culture and humans very well today. He said, "The saddest aspect of life right now is that science gathers knowledge faster than society gathers wisdom." And with that, I'm going to bring Dave Cruz into the show. Please welcome Dave. How are you doing today? Today? Oh, you're on mute, Dave. Can't hear your microphone. I don't know what happened.
Testing, 1, 2.
We made it.
Good evening, Melissa. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, and thank you for allowing me to join you on your show and talk to your audience. And I think we're going to have a fascinating topic and talk tonight.
Yeah, this is like this is a very important topic in my opinion, because we are going through this very crazy transition that is being pushed onto us against our will. I would say some people might be into it, but I think it's being pushed on us by certain elites, and it's people usually just see it as, oh, it's just technology, it's just progressiveness, it's just, more modernization, and it might be a little bit more devious than that.
Yes, absolutely. From what I've been researching, and by the way, I just want to mention, and thank you for mentioning the show, that I typically do what you're doing with me tonight is in the reverse. I actually do the interviewing mostly. And so this is pretty new to me as far as being the researcher, but it is something I did start. And so, it's we'll see where it goes tonight. But just keep in mind, everyone, I am a novice researcher, except for when I research my guest, of course. And yeah,
That's
so
right.
there you go.
So, okay, so maybe we'll start off with trying to define what transhumanism is.
Right,
I always start with this. I started in when I did a show on it about surrealism and how they worked their way from surrealism art and technology upwards. But you might have a different perception than me.
right. So what I have as the one of the definitions of transhumanism is it relates to a philosophical and social movement that advocates for the use of science and technology to enhance human intellectual, physical, and physiological capacities. It seeks to transcend the limitations of the human body and mind through advancements such as genetic engineering, artificial intelligence, and biotechnology. However, we're going to like you mentioned earlier, we're going to cover a little bit about biblical aspects of transhumanism.
Yes. Now, I mean, there's so many elements that they have done. And when I say they, I'm talking about society and technology and the control systems as like a big, almost like a mechanism or a machine. I don't even know if they know what they're doing. I think it's so, what's the word? Compartmentalized. But there's so many elements to it. Maybe I'm not sure because we want to get into the Nephilim and the fallen angels, but maybe we should start with what's going on now with transhumanism. Like, what do you think the goal is with all of things that are happening with technology, like brain implants or the transgender stuff? I mean, there's drugs. I mean, there's so much stuff in our foods, vaccinations. I mean, it's hitting us at every way that you could possibly think of.
Yes, absolutely. And quickly, I just want to do a shout out to Dragon Rose out there. She is amazing. She comes to all the shows. Thank you, Dragon Rose, for joining us tonight. And also, Emily, thank you for joining us. Anyone else out there listening or in chat, thank you for joining us. And by the way, I don't see how I can chat back. Is there a way to chat in here?
Um, I'm
That's
not
okay. It doesn't
sure.
matter.
I can't see your view, but there is. I think I might have to put you on the YouTube as a. I'm
No,
not
no
too sure.
worries. No worries. Hey, Sylvain, how's it
Sorry
going?
about that.
Sylvain is out there too. Thank you for joining us.
Awesome.
Um, but yeah, getting back to that question was going to be actually the conclusion to my quick little talk about the Nephilim and transhumanism. But the bottom goal is, Emily said it best, is they are trying to take away our sovereignty. And I believe that it is the elites that are doing this through trickling down through different organizations such as the Illuminati, the Freemasons. The list goes on and on. But what I believe is the end game is this is all a satanic agenda, and as we can see, it's unfolding right before our eyes. The whole thing, what's happening with P Diddy and with all the human trafficking, and then you have all our culture has just shifted to a more satanic agenda. I mean, if you look at a lot of the videos like Little Nas X and Doja Cat, and those are just a couple of videos or artists that have this weird satanic agenda that's in their music.
Hmm.
The bottom line is it's a satanic agenda. They're trying to pervert what God created, which I believe. And how they're doing this is they're going to be doing this through changing our DNA and our genetic makeup. And once that happens, Melissa, it is told in the Bible, the Judeo Holy Bible, that there is going to be a rapture. There is going to be a revelation. In Revelations, there's going to be a second coming. We talked about that with the Jewish community. with the red heifer situation,
That's their goal
bring
right now.
bringing in their Messiah, who they never accepted Jesus Christ. I mean, I'm solely speaking about me and my opinions. And what's happening is when they usher in an antichrist, that antichrist is going to make everyone wear a mark of the beast, which is 666. I don't know how it's going to happen. This is all unfolding. I'm still researching, but I mean, I've heard this all my life. I'm 53 years old, and I've heard this all my life, so I can finally see that they're doing all these things in a timeline. And once a human, takes that mark, which is probably just the changing of the DNA in our bodies, we are no longer redeemable, according to Pastor Troy Brewer. You can research him on YouTube or Google. He's a great researcher. He talks about all this stuff, and this is where most of my stuff comes from. And once we're non-redeemable, we are no longer saved, and we are part of the satanic. But we're basically Satan's children instead of God's.
Right. So I know that like the actual like this is that's it in a nutshell. But have you ever noticed like all along the way everybody is expecting it to be like so obvious? We've cut some kind of Satanist in the chat. Good Lord, in your chat.
Oh no! How
Yeah,
do you get her down?
anyways, it's all good.
Maybe it's the Antichrist.
So, here's the thing is people expect a lot of this stuff biblically to show up like fire and brimstone all along the way, but I think dark forces are a little bit too clever for that. And a lot of the elements we're doing are being presented as helping us. Does that change it? Like, are we supposed to? Is it supposed to be blatantly in our face that it's bad? Does it count if it's being presented as like a vaccination to help you? And people are being duped. Are they damned if they're being duped because they're being lied to and they're trusting?
Okay, so my opinion is yes, they are duping us into believing that this is all for a good purpose, that this is for the good of humanity and that sort of thing. But but it's really to wipe us all out.
Yeah.
What we got to remember that the fallen ones that we're going to be talking about here in a minute about the Nephilim is they are the fallen angels from the host of heaven. Of like a third of them fell from heaven because they followed Lucifer, who is now Satan, of course. And at one time, Lucifer was one of the most beautiful, one of the most adored angels in heaven, and he was like God's. Besides Jesus, he was God's right hand man for a while. But he became too arrogant and prideful and sinful, and therefore he did fall from heaven. But he was also jealous of humans because God turned his attention to the humans that he created as well. And so all of these fallen angels, they have it in for us. They're the demons and the fallen angels that are on earth right
Mhm.
now. There's nothing good that they want for us. They want us to be wiped out. They want us to be destroyed, genocide, the whole thing. Um, so that's I really believe that. Um,
Yeah.
but I think that what it is even though they're trying to trick us into doing all this stuff, the bottom line is if we know the truth, it's up to us to either accept this narrative or we follow God. Once we do accept the narrative of the satanic agenda, then we are no longer redeemable.
Yeah. Well, I know like the actual term was coined in the 50s, like the actual transhumanism term. I believe it was by Julian Huxley. And they, of course, termed it as a utopia. And of course, we should always beware of anything that's called a utopia. And they try to present it like they're trying to give us the Garden of Eden back or something like that. But one of my issues with a lot of this transhumanism and the technology is And you can see it all along, from plastic surgery to the trans stuff to the vaccinations to the implants in your brain. They're not just saying, hey, we've got some technology and if you have a disability, it can help you and it's optional. They literally want to put everybody dependent on it. And they're saying, you're not good enough as a human being. You are imperfect and we're going to make you perfect. And that's how they're pushing this transhumanism. And it's like, I just can't see anything more horrible to humanity than telling somebody they're imperfect and they have to be better. It just feels like a trap. It feels like how people body shame you to use their products. And I think marketing has been one of the sneakiest weapons and tools. Marketing, yes. AKA propaganda.
Yes.
I don't know if you
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was agreeing with you. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like they call it transhumanism as like, and it's, I don't think people know the depths of it, where it's like, it's in the films, it's in the movies, they're like controlling everything, and people are like, oh well, they see it as a certain shallow level, but it's literally going back hundreds and hundreds of years for these elite families that are literally controlling all the banks and everything, and they're controlling all these structures now. And they people are like, well, is it just in America? And I'm like, no, it's like in China, it's everywhere. They control everybody. And it's yes. Like, and I'm not going to say the names, but they really do. Do you mind if I pop a video on? It's a video of a guy. Absolutely. He's like Obama, and then love him and love his books, and you'll listen to him describe transhumanism. Here we go.
Yeah.
Harari thinks big for a living. Not so long ago, he was an obscure history professor, but his 2014 book, Sapiens, changed all that. He explored the past, cramming 150,000 years of human history into 400 pages.
Authority will shift,
transforming himself into a literary phenomenon.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome once again Yuval Noah Harari.
Name dropped by the likes of Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, and Barack Obama.
The other book that I really enjoyed, a book by an Israeli author, Yuval Harari.
His follow-up book, Homo Deus, tackled the future, elevating Harari to a sort of digital visionary. Now he's back with his take on the present day. His new book, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century, explores the influence of algorithms on our everyday lives, how artificial intelligence will affect and maybe even replace us.
Don't have any answer in the Bible what to do when humans are no longer useful to the economy. You need completely new ideologies, completely new religions, and they are likely to emerge from Silicon Valley or from Bangalore and not from the Middle East. And they are likely to give people visions based on technology. Everything that the old religions promised, happiness and justice and even eternal life, but here on earth with the help of technology, and not after death with the help of some supernatural being.
What are humans for?
As far as we know, for nothing. I mean, there is no great cosmic drama, some great cosmic plan that we have a role to play in it. And we just need to discover what our role is. And I think that fake news have been with us for thousands of years. Just think of the Bible.
Just think of the Bible.
But there is a concern.
All right, what is your thought on that? I wanted to play it because it just shows you how they're thinking right now. And he's being endorsed by Barack Obama and Mark Zuckerberg.
Well, it's no surprise that those guys are going to be supporting him with this agenda that's going on. I mean, it's part of their agenda as well. I feel that this Harari guy, I seen that video, by the way, and you know, it's interesting that he says what good or what use we are to these elites. And you know, I mean, in a way, I understand what he's saying. I mean, there's 8 billion of us. I mean, we can't all be put to work. We can't all be, you know, doing whatever these guys want us to do. But at the same time, you know, if that guy's talking about spreading fake news, then, you know, he needs to look at what he's doing. And so, yeah,
Right.
I feel this guy is definitely bad news.
He is so incredibly narcissistic. He's playing God, and I felt like this is what they try to do. He's trying to reframe the Bible with a common term called fake news, and I have like "fuck you" as a response. Like, imagine how many people he just it does not even about offense. He's actually creating propaganda against people's religion because he feels that religion is useless, and it's a product of human beings, so therefore we are useless. There's no magical thing in the sky, and it's all about eternal life. Like, that sounds like does that not sound like something Satan would say?
Absolutely. And you know what? That's the thing is in the Bible, Satan is the accuser. He is the father of all lies. You know, and when I talk like this, I'm just basically quoting from what I hear and what I read. You know, there's a couple of people in the chat, not Dragon Rose. I love Dragon Rose, but there was a couple of people in the chat who were talking about where are you getting your information from and this and that. Once again, this is me doing my, do research that I don't typically. I'm not a researcher. I'm not an author. I'm a host, but I am researching this topic because this is a topic I feel is very important, like you said. So what I'm trying to say about this whole thing is that we need to be careful with these kind of thoughts of other people, propaganda, because it leads to more of the satanic agenda. You know, the guy basically is saying, you know, we all just need to be wiped off of Earth. Interestingly, in my research, this was the purpose of God when he did the flood in the days of Noah.
Right.
He didn't want to destroy humans because he didn't like them. It's because their blood and DNA was already contaminated because of the fallen, because of the Nephilim. Not only were the humans, according to the Bible, were contaminated, but the animals were too as well. So everything had to be wiped clean. Noah was only just, and his DNA was not contaminated along with some of his family, and that's why they were able to escape the flood in the ark. Not to mention nobody believed them anyway, so they just all drowned. But in the process, they were trying to destroy. God was trying to destroy the Nephilim.
That's right. And I know in the fallen angels, there's a lot of stuff about fallen angels that's not in the Bible, but it's in the book of Enoch, which was apparently left out of the Bible. I'm wondering, I think I have a video on that.
Yeah, please.
Let me see. So it's the I have all these videos, and I want to make sure I pop up the right one for you guys. I think it is this one. Let's check this one out. And I think it goes into the fallen angels, but it does so from the book of Enoch, which is in, I believe, the Ethiopian Bible or something like that. It's not. Basically, everybody got together and said, what are we going to include in the Bible? Not this. Here we go.
Were the Nephilim. The Nephilim appear for the first time in the book of Genesis. They were a legendary race of hybrid giants, the result of the unnatural union between fallen angels and human women. They existed at the time of the patriarchs Noah and Enoch. These giants terrorized the people and took advantage of their enormous size and strength to do whatever they wanted, and it is said that they were very evil and perverse. The Nephilim were very violent and with superhuman forces that filled the earth with violence and terror, leaving death and destruction in their wake. Besides being mentioned in the book of Genesis, they are also mentioned in the book of Ezekiel. The giants that terrorized the earth were destroyed by the wrath of God through the universal flood. Undoubtedly, we do not know so much about our past that it would not be incoherent to think that this legendary race of giants called Nephalim have existed and terrorized for a long time. It is even believed that these beings are still alive, asleep, or hidden from all of us. Comment your opinion and follow me for more.
Angel is worse than Satan. The Book of Enoch explained a group of fallen angels known as the Watchers, and what they did will shock you. I'll explain the worst of these angels at the end of the video, so stay until the end. There are 200 of these angels that fell, and here are a few of their names: Samyaza, Azazel, Armaros, Arakil, and Barakil. Now let me explain why these angels are so bad. Azazel taught mankind how to make weapons for war. This act alone resulted in chaos, even still to this day. But it gets far worse. The leader of these angels, Samyaza, is far worse than Satan himself. Here's why. Not only was Samyaza the one responsible for leading every fallen angel to sin, he also led a series of experiments with the other fallen angels. They created a series of twisted, disfigured beings with human DNA and animal DNA. This whole story is spoken about in the Book of Giants. It says the 200 angels chose animals on which to perform unnatural acts, including presumably humans. I plan on releasing a full video on this exact story. If you are interested in that, follow me and subscribe to my YouTube channel in my bio. This angel is...
All right, so sounds a lot like what's happening with transhumanism, that they are doing unholy things with people. We've got, we've got scientists creating clones, creating this, doing unnatural things. Sounds very fallen angel-y.
Right. And it falls into the category of, the definition of transhumanism, where, they're doing all kinds of different genetic engineering. And I remember hearing something about that also when it comes to Revelations and the end times, the second time of days of Noah. We are in the days of Noah again, according to Revelations. And one of the things that was pointed out, and I mentioned that if a person is to take the mark of the beast, and basically they're bowing and their allegiance is to the devil and Satan, they will not be able to die. And that was that is one of the goals of the transhumanism elite, is they are promising more immortality. But do you really want to live the way they're going to basically, enslave us, do horrible things to us, that kind of thing, and you won't be able to die. So it's just something to think about.
It sounds like a trap.
Absolutely.
Like a soul trap. They talk about this. Like, it's almost like you're here, you're having this experience. It's almost like our conscious, if we're aware of the truth, we kind of report stuff back to the higher source, and they just want to trap us here and gobble our souls up and use it for whatever strange rituals. Like it's like the more did they deprave us and create Sodom and Gomorrah, the better it is for them. The further, it's like in their minds, they're controlling God and they're getting back at God. Like, ha ha ha.
That's what they
I don't
think.
know.
Yeah.
And I know there's people out there who will say, well, if God created everything and God is so good, how could he allow this to happen? That's going to be a question. What do you think about that?
I mean, I've had that same question in my head before. But when I look at it now that I'm older as well, I also believe that God never said he was going to, like, well, I'm not going to say never. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Okay, so the things that we're seeing today, we can call those like miracle type things that people wouldn't have thought were part of our reality or anything like that, or supernatural. We see those things every day, I mean, cell phones, technology, all that kind of stuff. What I feel is whatever God has this understanding, I guess we can say it, understanding with Lucifer. I mean, it could be a cosmic game, whatever. So whatever their rules are. And I think one of those rules is God put us out there. He did what he did. And then he's like, okay, I can't touch you guys. It's up to you.
Yes.
But
And
what
I guess
will do.
I guess it goes back to Genesis, right? Where we had the free will and kind of messed it up.
Exactly. I see a lot of people say free will, which is true. But what God did do for us was according to the Bible and Christian belief, he gave his only begotten son so that he could be the ultimate sacrifice for our sins. What we choose to do after that, that's up to us.
And so many of us probably unknowingly have fallen into the trap with modern culture. I mean, just with music. I mean, how many of us have, listened to music and not realize what it's doing or what it's saying? I know there's pop songs that I'll hear that from the 80s or 90s, and I'll hear them now, and I didn't really listen to the words when I was a kid, and I'll hear the words and I'm like, oh my God, is that about like gay sex? Like, what the hell is this about? Or excuse my language, but I didn't know. I was unconsciously listening to it, and I'll hear it now and I'll really listen to the words and I'm like, I can't believe I listened to this and didn't know. Like, I see that a lot now.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Emily was on my show last week. We were talking about Bohemian Grove and Belizean Grove and about the electric slide. We were talking like Beyonce and all this stuff, and some of like you were just talking Little Nas, and some of these people who are doing this, they get trapped in little contracts. Like, you see, everything's a contract. It's like a devil contract, and they get trapped in this world where they have to take on these personas and create this music and create this stuff.
Right.
I'd rather just like live in a cardboard box, to be honest, than be that rich and have to partake in that kind of activity.
Right. And then those who don't want to be a part of that anymore, you end up kind of like, we see, what do they call that? The 27 Club, where a lot of these artists are dead before the 27.
Yeah.
Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix.
We're going to be talking about Michael Jackson on Friday too. You end up like Michael Jackson. There's some stuff there.
Right. Yeah.
Janis Joplin.
Oh, there's a new movie coming out about the story of Amy Winehouse, and it looks so sad.
Do you know what's really disturbing? They destroy these people. They become drags, they ruin their lives, and then they make more money talking about how their biography and how they die. Same with the Nickelodeon stuff. I won't watch it because I'm like,
I'm only one episode into that.
They've tortured all those kids. Now somebody's making money off the story. I'm like, this is crazy. Right. It's nuts, because I'm like, oh, someone's making money off of the abuse that they actually do in the system, and they're probably part of the system.
Right. And this all is part of this agenda, this transhumanism satanic agenda to create or not create, but actually basically to pervert humans and our DNA and our thinking and everything, so that basically Satan and his minions won't be alone when they burn. And again, this is a lot of this is I could say is part of my faith. I have a faith. I'm more spiritual, I believe, than I am a Christian, but I do consider myself Christian because I believe in God and I believe in Jesus. But I'm not going to go around and also thump people on the head with the Bible either.
Well, it's better if people come to it on their own.
Exactly.
Aha moments than rather someone telling them, you're evil, you better do that. I do have a video on Beyonce. I have a crazy.
Oh, yeah.
It's longer. We get a little break, but everybody, I want you to watch this video on Beyonce because I don't think people realize actually how evil she was or is, and the stuff that she's doing with Jay-Z. Cat Williams was talking about it. There's been other actors, they're all involved, but they're like, oh yeah, Beyonce is the head queen. She's doing it all. And this video sort of talks about that, her and transhumanism, all the art forms. It's very surrealism. It's very unhuman. It's very grotesque looking. And so we'll just have a look at that, and then we can have a little chat about these superstars some more.
Showing the children.
Wrong one.
Just in the last few weeks, you've seen Beyonce posing on the front of the magazine with the red horse, a kind of mockery, a kind of sacrilegious stunt, but also pushing the agenda, the apocalyptic agenda that we see. And it says Beyonce turns up the heat. So the red horse in the book of Revelation is to do with war. And it says Beyonce turns up the heat. Now, a little caveat here. Remember that these people are just, they're following and serving their master, the enemy. They are not in control. You know, the enemy kingdom can show things in society, but remember through all of this, that these are not in control. Jesus Christ is in control. He is the one that opens the seals in the book of Revelation. God is one who is sovereign. He allows them to do what they're doing for a short time, which will come to an end, and God will destroy the works of darkness. So remember that even if there is this sense of pushing these agendas in your face, they are not the ones that are in control. So you can rest easy knowing that if you are saved by Jesus Christ, he is in control, and he will be your savior, and he will keep you to the very end. Jesus said, "Lo, I am with you always, even to the very end of the world." So then we come to this other depiction, and very recently this was in a concert by Beyonce, where she's seen riding on a glistening metallic horse, and she raises up above the crowd. Looks a little bit like the Rolling Stone going over, and then Beyonce appears in that, and you see her these orbs of light going round her. This is pure witchcraft. You'll see in a second. It's Renaissance is the name of the tour, but this is pushing witchcraft and transhumanism, just in the same way as that Poppy video was doing. There's these themes of transhumanism. If you notice here going across, you'll see that there is an eye going across her body. Do you hear those words she's talking about? Beyond space and time and reality cannot hold her back, basically. To find a source to charge my inner being. Find a source to charge my inner being. So it's all very New Age stuff. I mean, it's right in line with the views of Helena Blavatsky, Alice Bailey, and that's what's playing out here, this Antichrist agenda, corrupting people through these rituals in the mainstream media, using these celebrities like idols.
9 frequency as I tap my MPC, I find the Mecca.
And you see there, the lights going across her and turning her into that metallic shade, and this then goes into transhumanism, the next level above human. I mean, we could talk about many philosophies that have probably led to this. We talked about Alice Bailey, Helena Blavatsky. You've got Nietzsche, who wanted that Uberman. And remember, the guy that is cited as being the founding father of transhumanism was a Jesuit. So, yeah, the rabbit hole agenda, they're trying to lead you into this stuff. They're trying to normalize the absurd. They're trying to they're conducting a revelation of the method. Remember, they want to teach people these Luciferian views, these Luciferian doctrines. They're bringing them out in the open. So even with the truth movement, you have to be careful, even in the truth movement, because they actually use that as a way to initiate people as well. This is a very strange time to be in. But we see that there is an agenda of the enemy, and it's always anti-Christ and anti-biblical, false doctrines, twisted, inverted doctrines to magnify the enemy and to lead people away from the gospel of Jesus Christ. But we're here now on YouTube telling you emphatically that Jesus Christ is the truth, the gospel is the truth. He died for your sins. He came to this earth. He died for your sins. This is a spiritual battle. The enemy is trying to distract you, is trying to deceive you. And you need to know today that if you are not saved from your sins against the holy God, you have to come to him in repentance and faith, because this is real, folks, and hell is real. The devil and his angels will go to hell, will go to the lake of fire. But if you are caught up in this sin, if you are caught up in the enemy kingdom and not yet born again in Christ, then you will go to hell with them. You will go to hell for eternity if you don't come to the Lord Jesus Christ, who is that rescue, who is the way out. And the penalty has been paid at the cross of Jesus Christ. And on the third.
There we go. So it's interesting how the process is to get you to not believe in God, believe in technology, and then embrace all of this stuff so that they can kind of control your will, sort of hypnotize you, and then take away your humanity and turn you into some constructed machine, monster, whatever, Franken tech thing. It's bizarre.
Yeah, totally is. And once again, I really feel that it's being done to pervert what God's created. I understand that people are born differently and they have different beliefs and they feel like they don't belong in a certain category or group or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth, and this is the truth when it comes to transgenderism, is there's only male and female. If you're born a male, you will always be a male. If you're born a female, you'll always be born a female.
Mm-hmm.
But these types of people want to change our ideas and our beliefs that we can change ourselves into whatever we want to be. That includes animals as well. I mean, there's people out there who mutilate themselves to look like different types of animals, which is just, I mean,
snakes, cats, dogs.
there is, yeah, it's horrible. I mean, but the problem is there's just no more ethics when it comes to, the medical community. And I believe you finally saw that go out the door when the pandemic hit. I don't have to talk about it. We know what what it is. We all know what it is.
Yeah.
And like I said, the transgender movement can be also part of the transhumanism, even though mostly transhumanism is talking about technology and genetic engineering and that sort of thing. But it is the agenda, again, the satanic agenda, to pervert what is human in the eyes of God.
That's right. And transgenderism transitions us to this whole idea of not being human. Like Pat Braze says, I'll see if I can pull it up. He says, the whole transgender stuff is to get people used to not having a gender or an identity. It will be easier to make people accept transhumanism. And of course, they're doing it through all different ways. They're doing it through vaccinations, through hormone therapy, through surgery. I dare say plastic surgery and extreme plastic surgery is another form of making us think we can control everything and change what we look like and have this power of God. God didn't make your nose right. You can make your nose right. but there's effects, and you're seeing, I think the madness that you're seeing in society is the effects of all of these experiments that they're doing on us, like mass shooters. I mean, depression is up, crime is up, homelessness up, people thinking, like, they're literally right now, people are calling things that are bad, they're reframing them as good. And it's like I don't know where their brain is, but I'm going, what is going on here? It's the most bizarre. In 1980, in the 80s, I would have never saw this happening. I'm absolutely shocked.
And I understand that, because growing up in the 80s, and that was my time, and I was just basically, I was just out to have fun. I wasn't really thinking about this kind of stuff. But the truth is, Melissa, it's always been there. We just never really dug to look at it.
Right.
We never really, we never really searched for it. It wasn't really
right.
in our eyes. Today, it's in our face. I mean, all of the satanic agenda is in our face now. They just don't care anymore.
And I think it's said that the reason that it seems so rapid at the moment, one is the revelation is being revealed, and it is because they only have so much time. Satan's like, oh, I better get as many souls as I possibly can. And I mean,
Right.
you can never, from my understanding, you see that whole trope of selling your soul to the devil. As far as I understand, you actually can't sell your soul because you don't actually own it. God does. The devil can only drive you insane and make you want to kill yourself or make yourself miserable while you're here. He can't actually take that spark soul, whatever it is that is inside the body.
And what makes us human.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, our soul is what makes us human.
Mm-hmm.
And I really believe that. I really do believe that. You're right. The devil is the trickster. He will do, and he will lie to us and tell us anything to believe, him and his agenda. And the truth is we're not owned by him. This realm is his. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me confused. It is his realm, but we belong to a higher power, a higher authority than him, and there's no way that he can do that. He can try to trick us all he wants, but he can't take our soul unless we voluntarily say that. Or like I was saying, you take the mark of the beast. I believe it's true. Once you do that, God can't. He can't do anything else about it. I think it's their agreement. I really do. They have rules. I really believe that there's so much more that we just don't know. Of course,
Well, there's no way God couldn't possibly, if this is all-seeing being that created everything, there's no way that God possibly wouldn't know this was going to happen, that Satan was going to play this out. In fact, I couldn't imagine. He's probably like, you're there for that purpose, whatever. Like, because he knows in the end, it doesn't work.
Right. Absolutely.
Someone, sorry, go ahead. No, I just was reading a comment. They said, I was just laughing at a comment that they got a new phone and it doesn't still understand English.
Oh, that's funny.
So, but it's interesting that the way that things are phrased when, like, as soon as, like, you hear Nietzsche, the philosopher, say God is dead and we have killed him, and people think he's saying that in a positive way, but he's actually lamenting, even though he was an atheist. I think he's kind of lamenting because he realized that once everybody was like, there's no such thing as God, and people started adapting that, and with enlightenment, and the idea of enlightenment was to sort of take the world apart. It actually predates surrealism, so you could control it. And once you start coming to that conclusion that God is dead, you usher things in like the Bolsheviks starting communism, fascism, all of these ideologies. You're going to have one after the other because they're contending for that position of this sort of one religion. And that's another element of this, is that one video that I showed you of that guy that Obama presented, they have this need to have one religion, and that's part of the whole Revelations, is the actual Antichrist will force a one religion on everybody, that he won't just mark them. And I guess it's transhumanism is it. This weird, and they're presenting it as freedom. It's an inversion.
And if you don't mind, I'd like to go back to the passage in Genesis 6:1-4.
Go ahead.
And that basically, in my opinion, I feel that, how did I miss this? I mean, this is the agenda of not only Satan, but of the Nephalim, who are the fallen ones. And are you there, Melissa? Hello?
I'm here.
Oh,
I'm here.
that was an
Don't worry,
interesting
I was still there.
shuffle. Okay. But it says here, when man began to multiply on the face of the land, and the daughters were born to them, the sons of God, who saw that the daughters of the man were attractive, and they took as their wives any they chose. Then the Lord said, my spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh, and his days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of man, and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, and men of renown. And again, when you read the last passage, the Nephilim took the daughters of man, and they bore children. So right away they changed human DNA.
Yeah.
It is their agenda. This is their agenda. Transhumanism is their agenda to do Satan's work.
So do you think they are just telling us the Bible's not real, but they're going and they're looking at the Bible and they're going, oh yeah, it is, and we're going to make this stuff happen. We're going to copy what was in the Bible. Like they actually copy the pattern, but they've convinced us that that's all just nonsense. Like
they'd like us to believe that.
Yeah, it seems to me that they're taking even Bibi up in Israel and all this stuff. They're literally taking stuff from the Bible, Old Testament in Israel's case, but they're taking elements in the Bible and they're trying to produce them and do the same thing, and they're calling it good. I mean, but there is some good that comes out of technology. So some people might be like, oh, look, I have electricity. We're talking on this podcast. But there's also nefarious stuff that wants to, harm human beings.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, in that passage, it's interesting because there's not a lot of people who live to be 120, but it's not impossible. I have seen, that some people have lived to be that old. I personally wouldn't want to be that old because you could barely move, but going back to the past, if you saw, the technology back then, yeah, I mean, everyone probably thought the world was flat at one time. Then, there was ways to draw maps and globes. Everything it was evolving as far as technology goes. Of course, we had the biggest boom after, I believe it was 1949.
Right.
So that was the crash of Roswell. And I believe, I could be wrong on that date, it was 47 or 49. I can't remember. But I know that after that crash, it does seem like technology just blew up. Who knows?
Yeah, it really does. Well, and I think like I said, that right around 1949, that's when that Julian Huxley was really pushing transhumanism and they presented as, we're here to make a better world. What sounds better than that? To make a better world where humans can live. But then you get pulled into the web and you realize, oh, no. They might make a better world in their eyes, but they're going to get rid of a whole bunch of you. And before they do it, they're going to make you sin as much as possible and deprave yourself. And you're seeing the effects on people. I mean, I don't think you can do this much depravity in Sodom and Gomorrah without damaging your spirit a little bit, and living in pain and feeling worthless and useless and manipulated, and or being manipulative. I just don't think you can do it. It's it's the same story of a utopia that always turns into a nightmare. It is just so depressing, but it's true. And it's this idea, and I know I said surrealism came out of World War One because of the destruction and the chaos of World War One they had never experienced before. So it's funny that war makes a lot of these people money, but yet a lot of their creations come out of war. I can't think of anything more Nephalim or fallen angel-y than that. I don't
Right.
know. It's bizarre why war has to bring about so much money for the elites, and it does.
Yeah. And it's always been funny to me that the elites want so much money. The only thing I could think of is why the elites want all of our money is so we don't have any.
Right.
If
Well,
they
they
if
want.
they could take it all, then we don't have any money. We don't have anything. Then they can tell us, well, we have all money. We can do this
Yeah.
for you. We can do that for you. But you got to do what we tell you.
No, it's some fantasy that they have of this sort of one world uh, order, because I mean the money that they're giving us is pretty much useless anyways. It's not really based on anything. It's just printed paper. It doesn't represent even
Fiat.
any gold or
Mhm.
rias. Yeah, it's not, it's fiat currency. And so I honestly think if I could really deeply think about that, well, I don't have too much time on the podcast, but I think it's to tie our time into something, into their projects, to tie us to their goals. We were like, oh, look, we got money and we can trade it for stuff. And what we don't see is those bills are actually our time here on this earth. That represents our energy from our bodies that we had to spend to build into that company, and then they can just toss us aside. And that's the other thing about transhumanism, is it presents evolution in the terms of like a corporation or a business, not an organic evolution.
Correct. And I heard you mention something. I think we are running out of time, but there was something I did want to share because I feel like people get attracted to transhumanism in the way as well. If I were to change my DNA, maybe I can have super strength or super agility, or be super like these comics are. Like Marvel and DC. I mean, when you look
Yeah.
at the Nephilim and a lot of their abilities, I actually put down some of the characteristics of the Nephilim. Some of them can be giants, some of them can be just pretty tall, but you know, I by the way, just a side note, I believe Bigfoot's a Nephilim. Just
Oh,
FYI.
really? That's cool.
Yeah,
I never
we
thought
could
about
talk
that.
about that on another show or at the end of the show. But anyways, uh characteristics, some of these are attributed, and like superheroes of today's Marvel and DC, like I said, they are often imagined as let's see, near mortal, supernatural condition, the power to possess supernatural capabilities and attributes, power to transcend combat mastery. So they were very good fighters. Strength beyond what's naturally possible, the power to manipulate energy. They can absorb various forms of energy and utilize it in some way. They also have the ability to project barriers of energy. Now, these are all different characteristics of some of these Nephilim. There's also been red-headed giants that were found back in the early 1900s, when they were in the caves. I can't remember exactly where it's at on my notes, but they are supernatural beings. And I feel that when people talk about transhumanism and how they want to change our genetics, they want to change our DNA. Today they use something what's called like a CRISPR. I think you've heard of that before.
Yeah.
That uses the technology and bioengineering. There you go, bioengineering. They're engineering our biology to change us. So I believe that there's still Nephilim out there, and again, one of them is like your cryptids, like Bigfoot or Sasquatch. Other types of Nephilim are like chimeras. I believe that's how it's pronounced.
Right.
It's in great
Like a
Greek
glimmer man?
mythology.
Or is that like
I'm
a
sorry.
bird? Like, is the chimera like a bird?
Yeah, like half bird,
Yeah.
half leopard.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So that would also be considered part of the Nephilim, because they also contaminated not only humans, but they did contaminate animals. And that's why in some cases when you read the Bible and God says to wipe out these people, he doesn't just stop there. He says wipe out everything, including their animals, because their blood is tainted with the Nephilim DNA.
Wow. So I know for some people who had to take the vaccination or they got tricked, it might have some funky stuff. I've told people things to do to get that out of your system, because you can get it out of your system. I don't think everyone's cursed forever, because I don't think that's like a mark of the beast or anything like that. I think there are things that you can do. So people, there are what is it called, nanokinase and stuff like that you can take that will get a lot of that stuff out of your system, because I had to take it because I was forced in Canada. And so, but I actually think I got like some, because they put out a lot of real vaccines and then they put out like fake, like basically it wasn't really the vaccine. And so I never had anything wrong, but I started taking that nanokinase stuff, like I freaked out and I was like, just in case. But there are ways you can do it. I don't think you're necessarily down, but if I think the mark of the beast is going to come in this digital currency, because that's coming along the way where we will be tied and we will have no ability to shop any other way. You're already seeing it in China. It's slavery. It's slavery. They all talk about how we need to repent for slavery in the past, and this is going to be a mass slavery, financial slavery, like we never know. We're locked into a supply chain, and they're going to feed us bugs, and there won't be any other way to trade or do any businesses, excuse me, small businesses or anything, because we'll be tied in these massive corporations that are literally like, you've seen the archetype, the corporate guy as like Satan. You've seen that movie with what's his name, the devil's advocate, like it's I'm like, they're literally telling us in the movies, yeah, corporates are devils. Like they're repeating all these things in our culture, and they're like laughing at us and letting us know, and we think it's just fiction.
Yes, I agree with that. I believe that, and I call it, oh my gosh, I'm going blank.
I know. I do that all the time. I'm like, what's the name? Who's the person?
When they're trying to
I
tell
had
you,
it in my mind 5 seconds ago. Emily says, yes, history is repeating itself, because apparently Emily had said before, and then Tangi Angel had said that before the Tower of Babel fell, they were doing this sort of like transhumanistic gene splicing weird stuff. That's right.
exactly. Predictive programming. That's what I was going for. Predictive
Predictive.
programming is where, and again, I hear it in new agey type discussions, the woo woo, that, when it comes to this kind of topic, where we have these elites, Illuminati, new world order, whatever you want to say it, satanic people, that they're supposed to tell us what their intentions are before they do it. Otherwise, I don't know, some kind of contractual type thing. But
they think it will make it so that they're not doing it, like they've told us, so it's okay. Basically, they get off
exactly,
the hook.
right.
And that's
And
not
so
true.
one way of them doing that is by putting it in our media, such as movies and TVs, even commercials now. They're showing us what their plans are. They're just not telling us directly, but they will.
Yeah.
And in some ways they will, because what was it, that quote, was it from Rockefeller or from one of those guys, about how we're not gonna have anything and we're gonna like it,
Oh,
because
yeah,
they're
that's Klaus Schwab. You will
Schwab
own nothing
or
and you'll be
whoever.
happy.
Yeah, we won't own anything and we'll be happy. And you know what's interesting? And sad at the same time is I even see some of my own kids, unfortunately, all they want to do is just sit back and play video games and, you know,
It's escapism.
not
It's
do anything.
escapism the same way films were during World War One and silent films. People will escape into a world because they can't handle. I mean, that's why so many people are doing drugs. I mean, we have our own governments and CIAs. Basically, that's how these drugs get in here. Is they literally funnel them in our countries and make our children addicts and or kill people with, all you need is to get your stuff laced and you're done, a little speck of it. It's really disturbing. So Schwab, Bilderberg means I think it's collapsing before their eyes. I think they've got a few more punches yet. I don't think they're just going to let up because they're just ignoring us and they're just going ahead and doing it because they have this, like I said, it's biblical and they're trying to make us think that there's no biblical stuff going on. And then you'll see people like, you guys are crazy. You guys are nuts. But I don't know. Is there a positive thing? I wonder if there's anything people can do. Because people just hearing me say this are going to be afraid of transhumanism. I mean, even Elon Musk, who lets us speak more freely on X, wants you to put a neural link in your brain and be tied to everything all the time. Like, I find that an imprisonment. I find that prison. I
Sure.
don't find that a freedom. I find that prison. So, like,
Exactly. I
I don't
mean,
know. I don't know what we can do. Like, how do we? How do we not burn up and go to hell? That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
yeah, I know. All we can do is do our best. We can follow, the writings and the teachings of Jesus or whoever, the person looks up to and claims to be their Messiah or their God, and do what they said, what they do. I mean, live a moral life. Try not to, hurt people. I mean, yeah, it sounds like, well, that's all you need to do to get in heaven. I don't know, but it's a start.
I guess we could start with the 10 Commandments and live
Absolutely,
by those.
exactly. And by the
Yeah,
way, did those Georgia Guidestones ever get rebuilt?
I don't think so.
Because
I
I
don't
heard
even
something about them
know.
being rebuilt after they were destroyed. They were blown up.
Guys, I'm gonna check on that right now on Google. If anybody knows, let me
Oh,
know.
that's why I love the chat. They like to pop stuff in there. Oh yeah, this and that. But
Hmm.
Lost Cryptids Conservatory, he had a suit that said "One World Order" in Latin on the back.
Well,
Was
they're
that
saying
Elon
is
Musk wearing a Baphomet?
yeah.
Really?
So he for Halloween he had this
Wow.
shield, but it had an upside down cross on it. I don't know what
Mhm.
character he was trying to be, but it was like this armor, this breastplate armor, and the cross. You can look it up. It was his Halloween costume, and the cross on it
Sure.
was an inverted upside down cross. And I'm like, I'm sorry, that's satanic. If you turn the
Yep.
cross upside down, that's no good.
Yep.
And we are hearing a lot. Here's the other cue. I know Israel people in Israel think if everyone's attacking Israel, it's a bad sign. But for decades and decades, Christians have been attacked. We're supposed to just let everybody. I guess we're supposed to keep turning cheeks while everybody calls us evil slave drivers, psychos, and the joke's on them because the same people who've been doing all this stuff all along are still doing it, and they just
Right.
pair us against each other, the common man against each other. But because Christianity is under attack, and one thing I want to say before we leave is that they're trying to get parts of the Bible outlawed or removed in
Sure.
politics because they said they're anti-Semitic.
Yeah, it'll be
90,
outlawed everywhere
yeah,
soon.
yeah. Get an old Bible, everybody, and hide it. It's like what's that movie?
Memorize it.
Um,
Book of Eli.
V for Vendetta,
Oh,
whatever that
well,
movie
that too.
was. That
Mhm.
he in the one scene, one of the books that he's hiding that was outlawed was a Bible.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it.
Exactly.
A quick comment that Emily pointed out was she said that Elon means El, God on above, or
God above.
above, God above. And it's interesting that L does mean that, because when the comic Superman was created, his family's from Krypton, but his family's also the house of El, which is God. So that's godlike, right? Superman has all these powers, immortality, super strength, invulnerability, all that. That's a god. So when they use the word El, that is in reference to God. Maybe
That's
not in
right.
a positive way either.
That's interesting that they called him Elon, and he's driving through all this technology like a god and wants to go to space. Wow, we're so creepy.
Yeah,
We
and they're
just can
tricky
never
too.
be happy. And you know what? We've been convinced all along not to be happy with ourselves through marketing, through mass consumption, consumer practices, and that's why we do all these behaviors. Is because we don't think we're good enough and we're not loved, and that's the voice of Satan telling us. Because I'm pretty sure God, that would not be what He would tell us. Do you have any last things you want to close off with, Dave?
Sure. So, well, again, I wrote a ton of notes, and of course, we only
Go ahead.
got to a few of them because there's just not enough
No,
time, never,
go ahead.
even in my shows. But
Yeah.
what I wanted to end with, of course, is the conclusion about this whole movement, transhumanism, if you want to call it a movement. It's just overall something I believe that the enemy, God, Satan, whatever you want to call him, is doing, because his time is short, and he doesn't want to be alone in hell, basically. But I can't find it right now. But the bottom line is this is all happening because they want us to take the mark of the beast. They want to tell us that it's going to do all these great things, all this transhumanism, research, genetics, all that. I mean, they're trying to alter our DNA anyway through GMOs, chemtrails, all
Mosquitoes.
the mosquitoes,
Yeah,
jabs,
Bill
and
Gates. Bill Gates was injecting mosquitoes with the vaccine stuff and letting them free.
right. And so they're trying to do that anyway. But again, unless we really say, okay, I accept it, it doesn't do them any good. However, they do trick us, a lot of us, into taking things with our free will, and I'm not going to be one of those. I'm because we know the truth. But that's pretty much the transhumanism agenda, is to get us to take the mark at the end, and we will no longer be redeemable to God.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, guys, everybody can always redeem. I think hopefully, I mean, that's why your priest always does your confession before you die. So I don't know what it's going to look like. I know I did a show on Isaac Newton, and he was actually a Zionist before Zionism was even a thing. He believed that prophecy that the Jews would return to the land and all that stuff, and he made 2060 as his date for a lot of this end stuff happening. So maybe we have time, maybe we don't. But he also called out 1799, which was when a lot of Zionism in Europe started getting going. And he also called out 1944 for return to Jerusalem, or to Israel to return to Jerusalem. And it didn't happen in 1944, but a few years later, it that was almost at the end of the war, and it eventually did happen within a few years.
Pretty
So
close.
I know. And Sir Isaac Newton was right into Revelation. You can check it out. He was so deep into it, almost more than he was in physics and all that stuff. And he was doing mathematical stuff to make predictions. It was kind of interesting. So hopefully he's wrong and we have a lot more time and these guys fall and everything's good. But hopefully people wake up.
Yes.
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, Dave. This was a really interesting. I mean, we could probably keep talking, but I know it's late night. And I want to thank everybody for showing up in the chats. We have about close to 1,450 live viewers right now between X
Fantastic.
and YouTube. So guys, if you can please visit Dave's website, I'll put it back up for you guys again. We got beyondthestrange.com. Go, please subscribe to his YouTube channel. Please check out his website and his podcast. Yeah, it's great. There's a lot of conspiracy. He's probably got a really big archive. How long have you been podcasting?
Too long.
Time. There's a big archive out there, guys. So you check out Dave's website, beyondthestrange.com. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I'm going to see if we have any last. Everyone says thank you. Thank you so much, Emily. Emily's
Thank
really
you,
good.
Emily.
We've got to get her in here on biblical stuff. She's way better than me.
I'd love to talk to her.
It was. Well, look her up. Ask her to come on your show. She can do the Bible better than I can. I was not even raised really religious. I was not even raised really religious, so that's why I'm looking at all this stuff going, yeah, I think I might want to pay attention. So thanks everybody. I'm gonna close out, and
thank you guys.
I am gonna have a show on X tomorrow, and on Friday. On Friday, me and Emily are gonna be talking about who really killed Michael Jackson, and tomorrow it's gonna be news and probably something conspiracy theory. Thank you guys for showing up. Take care.